So here's the latest project. I just got back from the TV swap meet, and I've always wanted a remote Avante. So this is a Chromacolor 2 Space Command set. Uses a 6-button remote. As you can see, it has color sentry and zoom. This was made in 1977. Also got a cool little 13-inch Space Command set here. Anyway, so currently this is going to need quite a bit of work. One thing I noticed right off the bat is, unlike the earlier ones, the bezel on these is plastic, which is kind of lame. I didn't know that, but what are you going to do? Might explain why it's so much lighter. But the base is pretty gross. There's some damage to the wood and the paint and the plastic. I hate fixing plastic, but I'll try. And then unfortunately the top has this gross ring, and I am no carpenter, so I'm gonna have to ask around about that. But currently, the remote doesn't work, but it may just be batteries. But the main thing I noticed, and I think he mentioned this, is that while it turns on, there's no high voltage. There's a volume out here. Yeah, you can hear sound, but nothing, no high voltage. So, take a look at that, see what that might be. So the first thing I did, because, you know, most people who aren't TV repairmen would do this. I went and grabbed, oh, that's not it, a spare horizontal module and swapped it in. And there was no change. And the order is important here in which I did this, because I caused myself to run in circles. This is a life lesson. I left this in and started probing around. I noticed that I had no horizontal drive pulse to the base of the horizontal output transistor. I removed the horizontal output transistor, the original being this guy here, a 121-831, and I measured it with an ohm meter, and it measured completely open, which was kind of weird. Normally this is shorted in my past experience, but anyway, it was open. I had another Chromacolor 2 chassis with another 121-831 in it. I checked that. It gave pretty normal readings, so I popped that in. No change whatsoever, which I guess you wouldn't expect, because there was still no horizontal drive pulse. So I checked all my voltages. Everything was fine. I had 120 or so volts at the case here, which is the collector. Great. I removed the power, and I checked my safety capacitor here that the emitter went to ground, and emitter to ground. Yeah, right. Emitter to ground through the one side of the capacitor, and then the other side, the collector to the flyback. And that was all fine. So then I was thinking that with these, the raster will be cut if it doesn't sense current from the vertical yoke. So basically, if it detects that your vertical deflection collapses, instead of burning a horizontal line into the screen, these modules are supposed to sense that, and they're supposed to kill the raster. But they're not going to kill the high voltage, so that isn't really our problem here. I went over to the sync board, which also doesn't really make any sense, because this should have like a free running oscillator on it, and that's what wasn't running right. But I did check the sync, and I had sync there, so that's not really related. But anyway, so remember, I had this module installed, which was still wrapped, rebuilt from Mexico, from Zenith. Now this is an 02, what is it here? A 990-02. It's a C, but I don't think between B and C, I don't think there's a huge difference between these things. And it calls for an 02, but there was an 01 installed. I don't know. So, anywho, I did pull the goop off of the back here. I took the goop off the tripler, and I touched a probe to it to see if I got anything, and there was nothing there. When you turn off the power, it would a little bit, but there was really nothing of any meaningful voltage coming out of this flyback. There's also, I noticed, if I can zoom in, you can't really see it, but right here, I wish I could get it better. You can kind of just see right here, there's a little bulge and like a crack. So that the tripler's obviously in question, and it's a weird number. It's a 121, 149, which I don't have, so I had to dig one of those up, and I'm waiting for it to show up. So I had nothing there, and I thought, I don't know. So we replaced the hot, or I replaced the hot. I thought, I'm going to throw this original module back in. Like maybe there's, as I was checking voltages, I'm like, maybe there's some difference. I don't know. So I put the original module back in, which is kind of incorrect because it's a 99001, and that's not supposedly right for this chassis. And I turned it on, and I was greeted with high voltage, but not enough. It's kind of a squealy, weak high voltage. So I stuck my probe under the anode cap, and I've got 10 kilovolts, and that should be about 30. So there's something wrong, and my assumption would be here that when this set was running, the tripler half shorted out, which was left in that state a little bit too long perhaps, blew the junction out of the hot, and that's what killed the high voltage. And the free running oscillator on this module was always good. I had just put in that spare thinking, oh, the spare must be good. New parts are always good, right? Wrong. That caused me to run in circles thinking that everything was hunky-dory over there, and it wasn't. So putting the original one in got me back to the original issue, replaced the hot. That got me the voltage to the flyback, but I think it's being kind of squelched by a bad tripler. So I'm going to wait and see when that tripler shows up. I'm going to swap it in and turn it on and recheck my voltages, and I would bet you that it might fix it. We shall see. All right, we've got our new old stock tripler in. I'm hoping it was new old stock. I mean, this doesn't look like it's ever been used, but there was some solder on some of these terminals. Kind of odd. Anyway, I will apply some silicone to that flyback input once I test this out. But I guess we'll put the chassis back up and we'll see if it works. There's the old tripler. This is that bulge right there at the top is what I was kind of concerned about. All right, let's try it out. Oh boy. This power switch is terrible. Oh. Got high voltage. Heard it. Oh. Black and white.
When it comes to the wise guys, there's Mo that
Awful blue.
Me TV presents May We Have Mo Saturdays at 6, 5 Central. Dupixent helps people with asthma breathe better. So this is better. That too. Dupixent's an add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe
Needs some adjustments, but
people felt their asthma symptoms improve in as little as 3 days. Attacks. Severe allergic reactions can occur.
focus adjustment,
Right away from face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling.
convergence.
Trouble breathing. Tell your doctor right away of signs of inflamed blood vessels like rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, brown or dark colored urine, tingling or numbness in limbs. Tell your doctor of new or worsening skin symptoms, joint aches and pain, or a
Turtles
parasitic
are all
infection.
dirty.
Don't change or stop other treatments without talking to your doctor. When you can get more out of your lungs, you can do more with less asthma. And isn't that better? Ask your doctor about Dupixent, the most prescribed biologic in asthma. Also approved as an add-on
Shrunk it up
for
top.
adults with COPD that is not well controlled, and with a specific marker of inflammation.
Big day bigger savings. Only at K.
If you have pain and high blood pressure, like me,
I say it's not as blurry as it looks on the camera.
actually raise your blood pressure. Why chance it? Get Hempana, the maximum strength pain cream that is blood pressure safe. Now available at myhempana.com.
Man, these controls are filthy.
And fast free delivery. You get targeted pain relief anywhere it hurts without the chance of raising your blood pressure. With an annual donation benefiting the Patriot Fund to help veterans. So go to myhempana.com to get 10% off with fast free shipping. Order now.
All right, cool. Well, check out this tube and start taking this thing apart to repaint it and work on it.
Gotta sing for, please. Here, look, this is a picture. Ah, she's cute. Yeah, she's a big fan of yours, too. In fact, the first word she ever said was, Andre Crouch is a good singer.
Well, this would mean a whole lot to you, huh? All right, I'll do this one time as a favor to a fellow man of the cloth.
Oh, thank you. Boy, you really made a lot of people happy.
Thought I'd give an update on this remote control Avante set. See the top looks a million times better than it used to. You can just barely see that mark there, but just shout out to my friend Grant for taking that on for me. I believe what he said is he used I think a mixture of maybe acetone and toluene, I guess, to go over the whole top. And I guess that kind of, I don't know, steel wool, I believe is what he said. And I guess as you go through there, it'll actually kind of pick up some of that original finish and smooth it around and kind of work it back into those areas. So there actually has not been a new finish applied to that. That is the original color. So that's pretty cool. So while this was apart, or while that was, when I got the cabinet back, I did tape it up and sand it down, and I resprayed it. I used some oil, brushed in some new oil, semi-gloss black around the edges there. I actually had it flip face forward, so I had the bezel removed. So I had the case open. I have some pictures of that. And then I used some Painter's Touch. The color is semi-gloss ivory bisque is what I like to use on these. And it's a semi-gloss paint from Rust-Oleum, and it's called Painter's Touch. I got it at True Value, but I think Ace sells it. Anyway, as you can see, it's no longer yellowed and gross. Instead of light sanding of that, spray that on. And then for the sides, it were all chewed up. I think I have some pictures of that too. Let me focus here. Focus here. So this side I think was actually, I mean, it had some chips and things, but you can see it's got a nice little shine to it now. I think the worst part of it was actually this corner down here. So you can see I got a little bit of a dimple there, darn it. Didn't quite catch that. But this was all chewed up and gross, so that's all been filled in, and I just used automotive Bondo for that and a sander. So the humidity's been terrible lately, so trying to paint this has been, it didn't come out as nice as I'd like, but better than it was. And now I have to go through this and fix these best I can. I don't know how good I can do with that and these marks here without having to respray this whole thing. And the trade-off is going to be, obviously I'm not spraying the whole thing because it's already back together, but trying to tape this and mask all this to spray that, it would look, I think, worse if I did that than if I just maybe got some color and some chrome or something and silver and just touch this up a little bit. I mean, this set's from 1977, so it's gonna have some battle scars, I guess, but at least overall it'll look presentable and it should work nice. So I did go through the chassis. Everything in here has been cleaned up. I re-glued the schematic and the module indication sheet. All the controls have been removed and cleaned, and I resoldered these tuner boards. There's some questionable joints there and some lamps that wouldn't always work. I'm just kind of going through the convergence, or the yoke and the convergence assembly now. That's something else I wanted to mention. Cleaned up the tube a little bit, tested the tube, test good. Please excuse my messy workbench. So this is a convergence board. And what I noticed about this is normally I like to go through here and just touch up solder joints. Sometimes this resistor. On a couple other ones, I think it was, the joints were cold, so I touched that back up. On this one, and I think I have some photos of it, especially up here on these controls, there were a ton of tin whiskers, and one of them was like a 1/2 inch long, sticking straight out towards another one of these. You can look up what tin whiskers are. I have a photo here that shows how long it was. And I wanted to clean that up, and I'm sure there's a few different ways one could do it, but what I'm doing is I'm basically just taking that toothbrush there and a household vacuum cleaner, and I'm just sticking the vacuum over the control and then brushing off all the whiskers, and hopefully they're all going into the vacuum. I thought about taking the controls off, but the problem with that is I don't want to get any of that stuff any closer to the underside of that control than inside it as I can. I don't feel like that would cause more problems than it's worth. So that's what I'm working on now. And then I'll clean this all up and clean the enclosure and put it all back together. And I'm trying to keep it just as it was, so it's at least a little bit watchable until I have time to really do all the major adjustments. And I think that's, oh, I did go through the chassis, and I can show that as I put it back together. But I did recap some things, and the thermistor for the degaussing basically just crumbled, so I had to order a new one of those. And I got that from Talon Electronics, thank you. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Anyone else out there would have driven to corporate for you?
None of them.
And I have a mission to accomplish. Make sure this party gets rolling, and I will be back shortly.